So I gotta be honest, starting these next couple planets, I'm not super thrilled about, if I'm being completely honest. And it's because...
Andross has launched missiles from Vicina. They're currently passing through Sector Gamma. You need to stop them before they reach their destination.
Moving out.
Okay. Now that that little intro is done, now I can get back to what I was saying. Is just that I'm not super thrilled for these next upcoming planets, and it's just because
we've located one of Andross's
they
portals.
have some of the
He's using
most
it as a
frustrating
to launch a surprise missile attack.
missions, in my opinion, just because they're like super tedious. And gonna be honest, it's like this specific, mission is basically like a pretty much like a copy paste of the one in 64. So, and that one isn't terrible. I don't think that Sector Z in the original Star Fox 64 is all that bad, if I'm being honest. But, gonna be honest, I'm like, it's just never been my favorite, for sure. And I think it's just because there's a lot of the planets in Star Fox 64 that I think some of the mechanics of it just being the free-flowing type of planet where there's not much to... It doesn't have kind of like the run and gun type shooting sections like a bunch of the other planets have. I feel like those end up just not being like as fun, unfortunately. But I don't think it's too bad in 64. I think, you can definitely make some errors in that one. But it's just given the option between Sector Z and then going to Macbeth. I think Macbeth is always just a more fun option. Just because, I don't know, I feel like the Forever Train is just like such a goofy mission, and is honestly, easy but also a lot of fun to do. As long as you know where all the switches are on that planet. So I typically avoid Sector Z in general, but I don't think it's by all means bad or anything. I think it's it's pretty okay in terms of a mission itself. But this variant of Sector Z, I think the changes that they made for this one is so unbelievably frustrating. I think this is by far the worst designed mission in this game. And I feel like I've been, pretty lenient on a lot of the missions, because I think in, Star Fox Zero there is a lot of good ones. And there's, a bunch that are kind of just middle ground, and I don't feel like there's too many ones that I genuinely just dislike, but this is one of them. And it's just a combination of, doing the missiles, and they changed how the missiles function, where instead of just shooting them like you could in Sector Z, now you gotta hit, all those little things on it to blow it up instead. And how Sector Z worked is that, if you failed the mission, that's when the Great Fox would go down. But in this one, you have to do a combination mission of taking out these missiles and defending the Great Fox, because they just start dropping those like super annoying drones that and the drones like, you know, move so much. It's just, they can attack your allies, they can do so much stuff. They zap the Great Fox of its health so quick, and just the way that the camera works in this, I feel like it's so hard to actually like see the things, get a good enough angle to shoot them off. And so I feel like this mission is just frustrating for all the wrong reasons. You know, they try to make you multitask way too much, in my opinion, and it just ends up being, in my opinion, just infuriating. So, yeah, needless to say, I'm not a huge fan of this one, of this mission, and honestly, I think the next mission is fine with some issues, but this is gonna, I feel like this episode is literally just gonna be kind of like my most like rage episode that there is, just because I just find it so frustrating to deal with. But I mean, you know, kind of what you know, expected. Not all things can be, you know, not all things can be winners, unfortunately. And there are definitely some,
Distance 50.
yeah, and there are definitely some stinkers to say in terms of missions in this one. So, but you know, this took me a couple tries. I think technically, like, I cut
That's all of them.
some of it out, but I'm pretty sure this is like the third or fourth attempt that I did, just because I failed it multiple times. Because the first one that you saw that I left in was the drones just did too much damage and ended up destroying the Great Fox. But then I had another one where
Not too shabby, Fox.
one of the missiles just ended up getting through the portal anyway, and so that's also an automatic game over. So yeah, overall, really, really frustrating. But hey, at least I got a gold. So I guess, you know, I guess that's good at the very least. All that frustrating stuff. But hey, you get a gold medal. But yeah, I think that one's definitely the weakest planet by far, and I think it also doesn't help that it's literally just a repeat mission of Sector Z. I don't remember what
Moments before being cut off,
symbol
our
they
base here
have for that
confirmed the
sector in this
existence
one.
of a massive enemy
I
weapon.
don't remember
We'll
if
go
it's
check it
like,
out.
I want to say it's Sector Gamma, but it might be one of the other ones. I can't remember off the top of my head, and I don't know my symbols all super well. So I think it's, aren't like Alpha, Beta, Gamma, like all those, aren't they Greek symbols? I feel like that's what they are, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know my Greek symbols all that well. If I'm being honest, it's because I feel like the only time I remember really like having to learn them is in like some advanced like college math classes, but I think other than that,
Location confirmed.
I don't really use them a lot, so I'm a bit rusty on my Greek symbols. But I'm like, whatever that sector was, it's literally just like a repeat of Sector Z from 64, except, you know, they managed to make it like more frustrating. And Sector Z was always a mission that, you know, I thought was just kind of middle of the pack again. So you add making that, you know, more frustrating, and yeah, it's not a fun time for me. I'm thinking once I've gotten through recording all of the new Star Fox game,
This day just keeps
that
getting better and better.
I'll go through and probably do a ranking on the planets from 64 / you know, the new Star Fox. I think I'm probably gonna, you know, put them together for the most part, because I mean, from what I've heard and, you know, what I'm assuming is that the you know, remake is, the Switch 2 remake is pretty faithful to the N64 one, so I feel like just making a combination between, you know, the planets in both the Switch and the 64 probably won't be, you know, that bad, seeing as they're probably gonna share a ton of similarities, so. But we'll see, you know, kind of have to get that far.
That's quite a swarm. Brace yourself.
So that is a lot of
Time to take this fight to the ground.
there is a lot of those guys.
The Landmaster has been equipped with a new function. You can now transform and fly for as long as the boost meter allows.
I feel like this variant of the Landmaster, like,
You're gonna love the upgrade
is really weird, because, you know, like, they like turn it into a ship,
That's the way, Bob.
but I also feel like it's just super, like, strange that they just decide to pull, like, this out, because this isn't, like, used again at all. After this mission, it does, I think the Landmaster automatically unlocks this capability, because I think it does that with the Walker too, because there's some secrets on, like, Corneria, for instance, that you can transform and then go through a different gate than, you know, the original route to, like, the tower and everything. But I think in order to do that, you have to play far enough in the game that, like, you've used the Walker, and then it allows you to have that, like, extra functionality to it. So after you beat this, like, it adds that ability to the Landmaster, but gonna be honest, I feel like the Landmaster isn't even used, like, enough to really warrant, like, some random,
Enemy shield analyzed.
you know, like, this random change. Like, yeah, it's useful in this mission, you know, but it's one of those where it just seems a little unnecessary, because, like, I feel like the Walker and the R-Wing combination kind of do, like, a very similar thing to what the Landmaster does anyway, with this, like, new functionality. So I don't know, kind of feels like at certain points they were just, you know, throwing a lot of stuff out there, just throwing stuff at the wall, just seeing what sticks. And I think this specific portion just kind of ends up being my, you know, least favorite part of the game, just because I feel like, other than the, like, gyrocopter that they have, whatever that thing is technically called, I think other than that, this is the point of the game where I feel like it really suffers by just trying things that just don't end up working, in my opinion, like, as well as I feel like they wanted. But I think, you know, it has a very strong beginning section, and then a very, like, strong ending section, and then for whatever reason the middle just kind of suffers ever so slightly. But yeah, this isn't one of my favorite bosses or planets or anything. And I think it's so weird how, like, in this game, they kind of, like, do this thing where, you know, they, like, tease the, like, the Star Wolf members. You know, they'll give you, like, one or so at a time, which I think is kind of strange. That, you know, they kind of just tease, like, some of them. But when it's just, like, up against one of them, I feel like the battles are just, like, you know, pitifully easy. There's a upcoming, you know, Star Wolf battle where they actually, you know, make it feel like a Star Wolf battle, and I think it's, you know, honestly, one of the most, probably, like, the best one done in the series, in my opinion. So, you know, it's like, I feel like they, you know, do, like, certain things just really well, but, yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry I'm doing a bunch of complaining, but this, I just can't describe, you know, just how kind of, like, rough around the edges this section specifically feels, in my opinion.
Location confirmed. Watch for supplies.
But, you know, I mean, that's just, you know, my opinion, so, I don't know, you know, maybe, I actually am kind of interested, because I'm like, I was actually talking to, my brother not too long ago, and we were talking about, because I was mentioning that I was playing, you know, Star Fox Zero, and he was like, oh yeah, like, I've never actually, you know, seen that game, because, I mean, you know, with the whole Wii U thing, you know, I feel like there's a lot of, I feel like there's actually, you know, a lot of people that might not even know, like, much about this game, since the Wii U had, like, such poor sales. It was kind of funny, you know, how we ended up getting our Wii U, because I'm like, I don't remember the exact specifics, but I remember, like, our Wii broke around the time that the Wii U came out, and so the, you know, pretty much the only reason that my family ever got, like, a Wii U was just because it was the most perfect set of circumstances that, you know, a new, like, Wii-like game system came out as soon as our old Wii stopped working, and so it was like, wow, you know, that ended up being perfect timing. And so I think it's so funny that it's, like, a lot of stuff on the Wii U that I played that I feel like there's probably a ton of people that haven't played this, you know, Wii U, is literally just because, you know, it ended up being the perfect time to just happen to have the Wii U drop. So I think that's just so funny how that all ends up working out. But kind of the frustrating part with this boss is just, I think the ability to move in the Landmaster is just so sluggish, and, like, I don't like how it's, like, I think it's fine that the boss can, you know, repel you off its back, otherwise, you know, you can, like, cheese it, but the problem is that, like, it gives you, like, no time to actually function and do it. And the core, you know, literally has a hitbox, which was frustrating because I was pretty sure I was going to do it right there. So, like, the only way you have to, like, actually attack it is literally from the air, or else you're guaranteed to take damage from it knocking you off of it. And I just feel like that's just so frustrating to deal with. But I'm like, speaking of, you know, Wii U, I'm like, I think, honestly, funny enough, the best game on the Wii U is probably Nintendo Land, just because of, like, the Mario Run and the Luigi's Mansion minigame, and even, like, the Animal Crossing like candy game, I feel like were all like really fun to play. So I think it's just so funny to me that it's like, out of all the games on the Wii U, you know, Nintendo Land, out of all things, might actually somehow be my favorite. But, you know, I'm like just kind of, you know, wrapping up after these planets. But yeah, you know, sorry if I did a lot of complaining in this episode, but this section is just the most brutal area for me personally. But that'll be all for today's episode. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one, guys.